Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about a few ways that you could emulate Meghan Markle during these upcoming warmer months. I think she has some very accessible style, especially when it comes to summer and so on. And I also think that I'm very qualified to make this video because, like Meghan, I am also from California. I grew up a little bit more south though in Orange County. So I think that I have a pretty good idea of what that kind of style is. And I'm very excited to talk about it because I often pin things of Meghan all the time when I'm thinking about how I want to dress. So I'm very excited to be making this video. So I've thought quite a bit about how I want to organize this video, and I've thought that the best way would probably be to divide it up into different sections based on different things that you might be interested in doing this summer. So I'll have a section on style, for example, and then I'm going to get more into things like activities that you might want to do this summer, as well as even vacation locations and so on and things like that. But I'm going to start with her style and I'm going to work head to toe, and then you'll see I will organize the rest of the video with a variety of different things. We're going to start with hats. So Meghan Markle loves a hat, and she especially loves these huge straw hats. She also loves these kinds of fedora looking hats with like a very simple black ribbon or something like that. And I love larger hats myself just because I love the sun protection. And it seems like part of the reason too is that from what she portrays online, it seems like she likes to be out in the garden. Also being from California, I love these hats for the beach. When I worked as a lifeguard, you were essentially required to wear the large kinds of hats that you often see her wearing. So that was required because of the need for sun protection as a lifeguard working in California. So I think you kind of get that California inspired desire to protect your skin in a place that's sunny the majority of the year. So like I said, she loves those large garden hats. She'll occasionally do a visor. I have recently been trying to look for a better visor, but I've wanted a visor that I could wash just because I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it can get kind of gross if you're like walking around all hot and so on with a visor and you can't wash it. I don't know why it feels that way to me. So I want I love the raffia ones, but I've really been looking for something that's washable lately. So I'm going to link a bunch of stuff too that I think is very similar to the kinds of stuff that she'd wear. I'm just looking through. So sometimes she'll do like a lighter colored straw hat. You'll also see her do these darker brown ones, or I've seen even in her special she wore like this light colored visor. And occasionally she will also do a a baseball cap. So I love her in this Dodgers LA baseball cap, which is also very California of her. And I've also seen her do some of these like darker colored baseball hats as well. So I think that we have it covered in terms of hats. And now I'm going to move more on to sunglasses. So Meghan Markle loves a large black sunglass. I know that I've seen some with Key, I think that's how you say it, Key sunglasses. They have like very similar ones to the very large, almost like cat eye sunglass that she wears. I see that she also, it looks like in one of these photos, no, that's not, I was thinking it was Tom Ford, but I don't think it's Tom Ford. I'm going to actually look up the brand of a lot of these later and then post it in there, but she loves like a large cat eye sunglass, or also even a aviator. She loves an aviator sunglass. I don't feel like I can pull an aviator sunglass off, but she does it really, really well. So for summer, you cannot be Meghan Markle-esque unless you wear button downs. So she is just the queen of the oversized button down. So I would say that you definitely want to buy a few linen button downs in basic colors like white, black, blue. She also often has these striped ones that are super cute. I actually thrifted an American Eagle button down for my husband not too long ago, and I actually think it's very similar to the one that I see Meghan Markle wearing in one of these pins that I have over here. She also loves a basic tee, so something lightweight. And even during the summer months, what looks like the summer months from the photos, I think she's also often wearing these like knit tops, sleeveless knit tops, which I think are also a really cute option. So in some of the photos, it looks like it's a cashmere, but I also think like doing a cotton knit sleeveless top can also look super, as they say, chic. But it's also practical because you don't have to worry as much about how often you're washing it. Whereas I feel that like these cashmere and wool ones, you have to worry a little bit more about that. So, and the other thing I was going to say is she also seems to wear a lot of linen vests. So I've seen some pretty good quality linen vests on H&M, which I've also linked a few of. And she'll usually do them as a set, but I imagine you could also do them separate. All right, and since we're on the topic in terms of tops, you'll often see her wear a little sweater over her shoulders, which I think is super cute, especially when it is colder during the nighttime. And definitely in California, when you're down at the beach, it can get cold during the nighttime. She wears like these little sweaters. Recently, I thrifted this LL Bean, this 100% cotton LL Bean zip sweater that I think, personally, I don't know that I love putting a little sweater around my shoulders, but I don't know why. It bothers me. But I thrifted this zip that I think I want to buy in a bunch of different colors. I've been finding them on eBay and different things. So I think that's also a good alternative to doing like the sweater tied around your shoulders if you feel like that's too much. Then I also think like a similar kind of like woven sweater zip cardigan could be cute. I know Brandy Melville also has quite a few options like that if you want to buy something new. But I think the LL Bean cable knit ones or cotton ones are a really good option for the summer. And then in terms of bottoms, it seems like she often does a very simple white skirt. That's in a lot of the photos I've seen of her, or a kind of fitted at the waist short with a wider fit around the thigh. That's not too short, so it's a very classy looking short. And this is often done with some kind of thin belt or something like that. So I often have trouble finding shorts that fit like this, but one option is to buy your shorts in a larger size and then get them tailored and just get them to fix the waist. I know Banana Republic sells a lot of shorts like this. I recently got a pair of shorts actually at the Goodwill bin that I think are a little bit similar. They're low-waisted, not high-waisted, which Meghan Markle often does. I think low-waisted just looks better on me personally, but she looks really great in the high-waisted. But I imagine you could also do a lower waist with a little bit of a wider leg. But I think the key is to avoid doing a super tight short around the entire leg and just do something that's a little bit more flowy. So a linen short or a jean short. And like I was saying, also these cute flowy linen skirts that I see her in that are amazing. Okay, so now we're gonna move on to, so we've done like tops, bottoms, but let's move on to dresses. Meghan Markle does such cute dresses. They're so simple. So a lot of times these dresses will have, you'll see like a collar on them and then a deep kind of V, and they're usually a linen or almost a silk blend, even in the summer. So there's one photo of her in this all white slip dress that I'll put up that is just like, I love it. So it looks like some kind of silk, just silk dress with a little cable knit sweater over her shoulders. She's also, I know that the dress she wore in her With Love Meghan special was by Ula Johnson, and I've seen similar ones also on H&M, but I imagine you could also get the real dress on The RealReal or something for cheaper, but I know there are cheaper alternatives. And in terms of the color palette, usually she'll do like like I was saying, lots of whites, blues, or a cute little floral pattern. And a lot of times she'll do a shirt dress as well. So a dress with like up to the elbows and then a little belt or something like that. So I'll put a few options like that up on the screen. Or she'll do like a flowy dress with like these puffy sleeves, which I also love. And these often look like a kind of cotton blend. So I'm sure you could get something like that at Hill House or a shop like that. I've also been seeing a ton similar at like TJ Maxx and Marshalls. I always try to recommend secondhand just because I feel like it's better, but better for the environment for the most part. But yeah. Oh, and occasionally she will do like a very, very, very bold dress. So I have this other photo of her wearing this red dress with like these like beautiful ruffles. So I think occasionally maybe having a few statement dresses in your wardrobe. And then usually this is done with like a simpler kind of hairstyle. There's also this photo of her in this green dress. And more floral prints and stuff like that. And recently she's also been doing some of these dresses with kind of like a V-neck and then a scarf too that I've seen her do pretty often, and those are also like really cute options. So we have finally made it to shoes. And for shoes, I would say definitely a strappy sandal, usually in a brown or nude color, is what I see often. Or if you're going out somewhere nicer, then maybe a nude heel. And if you are going off on a hike or something, then a brown nude color hiking boot. But we'll talk more about that kind of stuff later because I feel like that goes into activities and stuff like that. If you're looking for a sneaker option, then I think that Stan Smiths are one option that I've seen her wearing pretty often. Okay, let's move on to activities. I would say the most obvious one given her show is cooking. So this would mean maybe making some of the classic dishes that you make, but just doing them in a way that's a little bit more dressed up. So I think some people made fun of her for this, but I think it's kind of cute. Or at least you can take the lesson from it is making that like fruit platter, but in a rainbow or something like that. So you could think of maybe cocktails that you make or even pasta or things like that and think about how you could plate them in ways that are a little bit more interesting or fun or more elevated in these like simple ways. So thinking of is there a way that you can put like a little bit of oregano or basil or something on top of the pasta or stuff like that? So I think that's the kind of thing that you might want to go for when you're thinking about cooking. So I think another thing that goes along with the cooking, at least that I've seen on her show, is really thinking about how you can maybe expand your palette or the kinds of dishes that you make. So other different kinds of cultural dishes that maybe you might want to try in order to expand your palette. Maybe not that doesn't. I was going to say that might expand your worldview. That on its own won't expand your worldview, but it at least might give you, I don't know, a little bit more perspective of what it takes to make a certain dish or something like that. So I see that often on her show is making sure that you try different kinds of cultural dishes and at least show some kind of interest or respect for those dishes. So that might be one way to think about the kinds of things that you want to cook or make this summer. And as for other activities, so things like I believe she played mahjong on one of her episodes one time. So maybe things like board games with friends, low cost activities like that. I always like to suggest. So I think something like that is a good option. tea with friends. Even if you don't have the garden that Meghan Markle has, I'm sure that you could invite a friend over for tea. And put out a tablecloth, or buy a kind of like tea tier thing. I actually don't even know what those are called, at the thrift store, and use that to make little sandwiches and have tea with a friend or something at home, sitting outside in the backyard, or something like that with a friend and enjoying a glass of wine or something like that. That definitely seems very Meghan Markle-esque. Taking a trip to a winery with friends, or taking a short little girls trip, also seems very very on theme as well. Taking a hike or something like that. I'm just kind of rambling at this point about things that you might want to do. But I think the key overall theme that I'm kind of noticing is that it's not about spending a bunch of money on a super expensive vacation, although obviously she has the means to do that and to like really elevate a lot of these things. But I think a lot of what I'm seeing as something that's a through line of most of these activities is that they're things that you can do with friends either at home or in these kinds of spaces, like on a hiking trail or something. So they're things that you don't necessarily need a lot of money to do, but it is about getting creative and thinking about how different activities you can use to actually connect with people and spend quality time with people. So on a hike, you're spending quality time with people. If you're at a winery and you're enjoying a glass of wine, you're usually talking and spending time. If you're playing a board game, similar kind of thing. So it's not about going out to super fancy and expensive dinners or restaurants or things like that, but it's really about connecting with other people and elevating your everyday life and just making it special in a way. As far as book options, a mix of fiction and memoirs seems to be what is most recommended based on what I'm seeing in the kinds of book list that she puts out. So even things like The Little Prince, so which is somewhat of a children's book, and then memoirs that I think you could take a lesson from also seem to be on these lists, or also books that center the experiences of Black women, so things like The Color Purple. And then I thought that I would just say a little bit about some other activities you can do that are a bit more service focused or community focused. So I know that she has her dog that she adopted from rescue, so you could maybe foster a dog or a cat or some other kind of animal during the summer, or you could adopt one. I actually adopted a cat last summer. I'm not telling people to go run and adopt pets. That is not the answer, but if you have the means and the time and all of that, then that is one thing that you could do to maybe help out your community a little bit. I know that Meghan Markle is also very focused on ending cyberbullying, or different kinds of bullying online. So I imagine maybe you could look in your area and see if there is some kind of chapter or club or something that is focused on ending that sort of thing or working towards some kind of legislation, etc., against that. I know that there's also a large focus on education, so I imagine you could also find some kind of organization that is focused on reading. You could, I'm sure, volunteer at your local library. You could donate books. I think anything along those lines would also be very up her alley, just to give you a few options. But anyway, that is all that I have for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you want me to make more videos like this, because I actually feel that I have a lot more to say on this topic, And it's also kind of fun to think about what a summer might be like when through the eyes of another person. So yeah, thank you for watching this video.